At this one, it's a ridiculous size. I didn't write it down. I was going to, but then I thought you were going to ask about the islands.
Roughly how big? Can you remember, like, how big? I mean, how big is ridiculous? I mean, is it a T-Rex? Because that's a pretty big...
No, I mean, like, it's the size of, I don't know, probably like half of you in terms of height.
So it's pretty big then.
Yeah, very intimidating. But speaking of intimidating, there is Mechathune. It's going to be thrown back into the deck, I would imagine, from Indonesia, but this is going to be an interesting one for them. I want to know how some teams approach the Mulligan here, because when I was playing this deck, I was all in for just finding Hemet. Hard Mulligan, get Hemet, feel good. But
Okay.
they are not going to agree with me.
Yeah, something we saw... We cast this a few days ago, and we found that actually if your opponent tries to interfere with your plans, it can slow you down a lot more than you expect. It was actually against Topsy Priest we saw it. And so actually keeping the silence, make sure your opponent isn't killing you before your Psychic Scream turn, seems to be their plan here. Which makes sense, because you don't want to be dead on turn 6.
Yeah, silence is really important.
Silence is golden.
But Belarus might not play into that silence. There is the potential that they can just wait until turn 4 to go Devil Saw Egg into play dead, and then the damage is essentially already done there, as they've already grabbed that 5/5, hatched it from the egg that you so apparently love, Neil.
Yeah. And will they expect Joth to have kept the silence is the main question here. Again, it's one of those matchups which you're not working out on the fly. You've had some time to think about it, but maybe even one of your players is thinking about this matchup while you're playing the other games, if it's a matchup that nobody's played on your team. But there will be mistakes made on both sides. Judging mulligans in matchups you don't play much is very hard to judge what your opponent's going to do.
And it's just going to be a couple of turns of passing for both players. Indonesia probably won't want to coin out Acolyte of Pain here. You wait, be a little bit patient.
Yeah, I mean, Acolyte, Pyromancer, Silence all on the board seems like good fun to me. Try and draw as many cards as possible. Of course, we've talked about the Hemet, but if the Hemet isn't in the top few cards, you've really got to rifle through your deck to find him as quickly as possible.
Yes, you do. And this deck does do particularly well. I found it to have more success in drawing through its cards than Topsy Turvy Priest.
Mm-hmm.
However, as there are...
Yeah, you need to move more through, because you have to get to the end of your deck.
Less pieces to find than the Topsy Priest, but they're one-offs in most cases.
And you can't win until you get to the end of your deck, right? Because you've just got to get rid of it. So the pickup of the second egg has allowed them to throw the first one out there. Even knowing that there might be a silence now, it's taken the decision away.
Let the pain speak to me.
And there goes egg number 1. And trying to get rid of it as quickly as possible so it can't be cubed, rather than going to the face. Because you can't. There's no point in hitting your opponent in the face in this match. What you got to do, beat them down with a Pyromancer.
Yeah, I mean, I've very rarely seen this matchup won with face damage. Occasionally it happens when Mechathune is played on the board just as a 10-10 when a win condition has gone out the window, potentially. For example, maybe a Demonic Project has killed off one of your puzzle pieces. But yeah, you are just aiming to draw through your deck, and they're going to want to be finding some of that card draw. This Pyromancer is going to need to be used to try and amp up this speed now.
They are going to get a lot out of this. With Coin Psychic Scream coming up pretty soon. Obviously, it will probably cost 7 by the time they get to the chance of doing it, because you can't let the Radiant survive too long.
Powered Shield onto the Pyromancer is nice, allows you to, if you want to, allows you to keep dealing that 1 extra damage to everything, but you are potentially killing off an egg here. So yeah, this seems a little bit better.
Yeah, and no problem with taking some damage over the next couple of turns, again with Psychic Scream coming pretty soon. Divine Hymn, they're going to get even more cards.
Okay, yeah, this is now a filthy turn. Powered Shield, Coin, and Spirit Lash might just allow them, will just allow them to clear the opponent's board as well.
This is ridiculous. What's even happening?
And meanwhile, just look how they're digging through their deck now.
Protecting the Radiant there, because they know they're going to trade in this. And, oh, you called it filthy, and I've got to agree with you. Circle of Healing a little bit harder to use, because you might want to keep that for a Northshire Cleric.
Yeah, you can see they wanted to use the Shadow Visions there, but if they were to do so, they would have had to Circle of Heal first. And then they're kind of just wasting some of these spells that are very important. And now that has put a giant barricade in the way of new meta in Belarus here, because they might just have to play a carnivorous cube if they want to try and wrestle some board control. Otherwise, you're just candle-shotting down this Pyromancer.
And what are you cubing? I guess you can't win if you don't play the cube on something else though later, I don't think. Now I think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
you lost both eggs.
You can't play Carnivorous Cube as a 4-6 there. Like, even though you want the board control, you just need some value out of it a little bit later on. You need to just hope that Indonesia don't find Hemet anytime soon, and they're not able to cycle through their deck. But now with double Psychic Scream available, and the ability to cycle through, Indonesia are in a fantastic spot right now, and maybe we'll see our first Mechathune Priest get a victory in the global games.
Yeah, I've hardly seen it at all. Obviously, certain streamers have had a go with it, but you don't face it much on ladder. And if you do, you probably beat it because your opponent's probably just having fun. But this is looking like a perfect spot for it, especially with this start they've had. Getting rid of both eggs is so huge. And Cathena is a threat, but double Psychic Scream is going to get them there. 13 cards left still is something to consider, but they can draw so much more. Second Pyromancer, and at some point they're going to draw an auto.
I think what's important is that New Meta didn't panic. Like, there was definitely probably the discussion of, do we cube here? Do we need to just be putting minions on the board? Well, the answer is no, because even though Indonesia are cycling so quickly through their deck, even if they were to get Hemet next turn, it's still going to take them 4 or 5 turns to play out all the minions in their hand, to play out the Psychic Screams before they're able to pull off the combo. You have a chance to be able to push damage later on.
Not drawing their combo pieces is a good thing mainly, but if they do draw them early, then at least the Hemet has less to get. Reckless Experimenter, Coffin Crusher, Ticking Abomination. And it is ticking, the time is definitely ticking here. New Meta well up against it.
And this might well just be another pass turn for Belarus.
And it's interesting because you'd imagine that the pass turns would have been coming from Indonesia sometimes. But because they've drawn all of this cycle.
I think we saw how important that silence being kept in the Mulligan was as well.
Yeah, it's allowed them to just race away with their real plan, which is, can I draw my cards please, and can you stop hitting me while I'm doing it? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can.
I mean, it's not a pass turn, but it feels like one. It's a very underwhelming turn indeed.
That's
but at least
a pass turn.
It does challenge the board.
I'm not going to be pedantic on that one. They did nothing that turn. Don't you pedantic me.
I would
You
never.
saw what I did to Derek yesterday. I destroyed him in all those games. Apart from some.
I saw you both run, and that was entertaining enough for me.
Yeah.
If we can call it running.
I wonder.
Gliding with style.
I'll run against you at some point. And then you'll be sorry and never mention it again.
Are you trying to suggest you would beat me in a race now?
I'm not suggesting I'll beat you in a race now. I'm suggesting sometime.
All right, so
I'll give you a year to prep.
A year. All right. From this day.
What's the date?
Date is Tuesday, the 28th of August.
All right, August the 28th, 2019.
We will have a race.
Race Gaskin.
All right.
Done. What distance? Mile.
A mile?
Yeah.
Sure.
1.6 kilometers. Yeah.
Sure.
Mile.
Whatever distance you want, Neil.
Done. 1 mile. And the loser makes the pancakes.
As long as they're potato pancakes, then I'm okay with it. As now Indonesia are drawing, and there is the North Sea Cleric they've been waiting for, but it comes just too late because they'd already played the Circle of Healing.
There's still a Divine Hymn.
Yep.
But not when anything's going to be alive, but yeah.
I mean, one of these minions will survive.
How do they die here? Let's go the other way. How do they actually lose this game of Hearthstone with this double Psychic Scream? How did Indonesia die?
So they Psychic Scream too early by an underwhelming board from Belarus, and then suddenly King Crush comes down and they don't have a Psychic Scream to deal with it, and it punches you in the face a few times and you die.
Okay. So how do you know if you've got 2 Psychic Screams, Divine Hymn? You're right, I mean, that's the only way. They're going to have to make some... They're going to have to get the Psychic Scream on Katharina straight away, then King Crushing at that screamed, and Hemet's bottom card, and then... Yeah.
Maybe a way they die is that they play out these Psychic Screams before they should. They don't get Hemet and instead they draw some loot hoarders. They eventually do play Hemet, then they have to play the loot hoarders to actually get them out of their hand, and they don't have Psychic Screams to get rid of them. Belarus are able to chop them down, and then suddenly Fatigue comes into the equation.
Okay.
There are ways it can go wrong for Indonesia. It's certainly not a guaranteed one.
I think one of the reasons we don't see much of this priest or the Topsy priest is this. People aren't comfortable with the number of things that can happen that shouldn't. I think if people were comfortable with those decks, they'd be played quite a bit more. You can see the discussion here is significantly more to the point than normally. I think it's like doing this, yes, doing this, yes. Rather than actually discussing the plays as a conversation, it's more of a checklist. Am I messing up if I do this? Am I messing up if I do this?
And I think that will be the main discussion of how do we mess this up? Is there a way we overdraw here if we're not careful?
If they really want a hand with that, they can give me a call. I can mess up most things.
And they are recognizing that that is entirely a possibility by killing off the Acolyte of Pain before they play this Divine Hymn. Because if they've healed up the Acolyte, then suddenly there is the possibility for new meta to be able to punch in a few times and try and influence this card draw. And Hemet turns up before we see loot hoarders. That is really important. And
the worst high five
that was
in the
pretty
history
terrible.
of HGG.
Pretty terrible indeed. But now with Katharina coming onto the board, it's not the easiest Hemet in the world. It's a shame.
Yeah, you want to get rid of that, didn't you?
Yeah, but it does mean next turn you can loot hoarder plus Psychic Scream, which is perfectly acceptable. But this is where it gets tricky, because if they see this board as enough of a threat and they Psychic Scream it, when are they going to have time to play Hemet? So I feel like you have to play Hemet this turn if you're going to be playing it at all.
And you want to, and there's only 5 cards, I think. Because things, like you said, things can go wrong. You might get hit twice by a crush or something horrible happens. Because it can be top decked even if it's screamed. Doesn't look bad at all for Indonesia here. And again, I think most of the players are just shutting up and just checking with each other before they make play, just checking with Joth basically before he does anything.
And Joth supposedly is the one and only Indonesian player to compete at Blizzard's HGT playoffs. That's what he said himself. But that was at the time of the HGG voting. I don't know if that's changed since. But definitely someone that you can be behind and know he is going to be performing well. But now this is scary, right? Because you look at Indonesia's hand. They cannot complete this OTK on turn 10. They have to play Psychic Screams. They have to get them out of the hand. They have to play Divine Hymn. They have to play Loot Hoarder. And they're going to be taking fatigue damage over these next couple of turns as well.
So King Crush, all eyes on him really. Can I get it in there like twice, maybe 3 times?
Yeah, so I think you, as new meta and Belarus, you recognize that the Psychic Scream is certainly going to be arriving next turn, so you push this damage to face. And maybe you use King Crush as well here.
And just try and redraw it.
Yeah, you send everything to face. Alternatively, you could just use the hero power and save King Crush for next turn.
They should be pretty aware that Psychic Scream's been in hand. Those left-hand cards would have been used to draw if they could. They could be combo pieces.
Well, they know Psychic Scream's going to be there.
I mean, it may have been Hemeted. No, it can't have been Hemeted. I'm crazy.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
going mad!
So Hemet's been played. There's only 1 card left. They guaranteed one.
Another elimination match to go alongside this one at the same time, Italy and New Zealand. As you can see there, Italy taking an early lead, and that will obviously be cheering from the back from Falcone.
Yeah, he's back there eating gelato and twiddling his mustache, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
So probably play the Loot Hoarder as well. But look how scary this is now. They're on 11 health, Neil.
And they've probably got 2 turns of fatigue they can take.
This is how they lose.
They still have the Divine Hymn, so they can still take a little bit more time.
So you could Psychic Scream plus Divine Hymn.
I think yeah, sure.
Well, you've got 2 more turns. You need to play
mana.
both Psychic Screams, you need to play Divine Hymn, and you need to play Loot Hoarder. And then you just win on the next turn.
And you've somehow got to get as much healing out of that as possible. There's no way to Divine Hymn and heal on the same turn, doing the plan that you were just talking about, because obviously you need to play both Psychic Screams.
I think this is better this turn because it means your opponent is less likely to draw King Crush.
Yes. Because they draw that, they just win on the spot.
Rexar is nice, but the 2 damage hero power is also good.
So this is where somebody needs to know their maths on charge minions. I don't think charge minions happen often enough. I think I'd rather keep the hero power here. This is almost calculable, except you need to calculate things like exact numbers from Rexar.
So you need to win next turn.
Somebody in the room knows. They are talking across to the Rexar man. Whoever is their Belarusian Rexar man is being talked to now. How much charge is there? What is the number? And Rexar man will know the answer to that.
So you can get your opponent down to 8 this turn. They then take 1 point of fatigue, which puts them down to 7. Which means the following turn they'll take another 2, which puts them to 5. But there's Divine Hymn that takes them back up to 11. So you need to be able to find a minion that is able to charge next turn.
Overcharge you, Rexar man.
Yeah, you need to. You need to win next turn.
They took something instantly there.
Might have been a boar. No. Okay.
Oh, it's a hunt for more things. So now it's Psychic Scream for a 0. They're getting excitable as well. Look at the intensity on the Indonesian faces.
They just win next turn. So Belarus need to find something that finds all this damage now. Even King Crush doesn't get there. King Crush isn't found. Zombies, build a beast. I don't think you can find enough damage.
14's a lot. They don't charge.
And I remind you, this is an elimination match. If Belarus don't find anything that can actually push through here, they are out of the global games. And Indonesia will be sticking in it at 3-2.
This is where everyone in Indonesia says, okay, experimenter first.
Yes, the ordering is extremely important.
Don't press them in the wrong order, otherwise you will lose the game. And they're laughing because they know they're going to win as long as they press it in the right. This is so much easier than Topsy when you get to this point. Yes. Obviously, you just learn it and you play it. But they're giggling because it is. But they're going to take forever on this turn. You realise that.
A random beast, can it save you? I mean, is that... Oh, I thought it was a king. Oh my god, it's just one King Dread! Oh my god, that ruins everything! That is the one minion they needed! No way!
That is insane! Obviously, it attacks the Experimenter when played, which means they can't do the combo. It will just kill the combo. And they have absolutely nothing they can do about it.
And look at the faces on the Indonesian side as well.
They can't even find like a cheeky way to get the Mechathune out because Dread's going to kill him.
Oh my goodness. The hearts of an entire nation just sunk.
And another one. Look at how hyped they are on the other side. There's no counting through the ordering now. The ordering is, oops. So you can play Mechathune to clear off the Dread, but then you haven't got a Mechathune anymore. And how can you do 32 damage with this cluster of gibberish? I don't think it's possible. New Meta is looking really, really smug right now. As are you, actually.
Swamp King Dread has kept the hopes alive for Belarus here. And now their hope is just that they can survive and push damage. It's the backup plan, and it's not a very good backup plan, that's for sure.
Well, is it not?
It's not great.
They win next turn if they're not careful. There's a spider
Belarus
bomb to take care of stuff.
Yeah, they just need to kill off this this Mechathune, and then they win.
But they couldn't, as it stood. So that was, I mean, they had loads of options with the Rexar powers on, but they did find a way, Indonesia, there to give it a chance. And it goes to game number 5. I think it deserves one after that to see who stays in and who progresses and who doesn't.
The glittery hat. I mean, you can tip that hat as much as you like. They snap-picked the Jeweled Macaw because they recognized we need something that can actually just randomly generate here. They probably even knew that was their one out. I hadn't spotted it. Rexar man, though, he was in the back like, hey guys, you need Swamp King Dread. It's very simple. What an entertaining end that was to that game, but it's now all tied up. Belarus are still alive. We are going to complete this series, but first, we're going to go for a quick break. We'll see you soon.